When you think of one of the most ferocious predators in the ocean, you probably don't think of the squishy squid as being top of the list. Join us as we take a look at one of the most aggressive, polychromatic denizens of the deep, as it stealthily eats up everything it can get its slimy tentacles on in life, death, and taxonomy.
Welcome to Life, Death, and Taxonomy, your 30 minutes of interesting animal info. I'm Joe.
I'm Carlos.
And today we're talking about an animal that sounds very British.
Let's point out that this is the pilot podcast episode.
Inaugural episode.
We noticed that there really aren't that many animal-centric podcasts that aren't just about pets or global warming. So this one is kind of like a nature documentary. You're going to learn about just the most interesting parts of the animal kingdom.
Okay. Would you like to kick us off with...
So what are we talking about? What's the first animal?
It's the Humboldt Squid. That's why I said it sounded like a British name.
It sounds very British.
But it is not. It's Mexican?
I mean, sure. I saw that it ranges all the way from the southern tip of South America, the Strait of Magellan, all the way up to Alaska.
Yeah, and it's like its territory is expanding.
Yeah, because there's a lot of them. So that's pretty much just takes care of the location. But they live at 660 to 2,300 feet below the surface of the water. This is a super interesting animal.
So it's V dark down there.
It's V is short for very.
It's very short for very. It's V short for very. Is V short for V?
We'll just go ahead and say the nomenclature, and then I'll just kind of list off its taxonomy, because this is life, death, and taxonomy. So we do need to say its classification. So it's called. I really like its binomial nomenclature. A little bit more.
What is binomial nomenclature?
That's the Latin. The genus and the species, the Latin words for those.
So whenever you hear a nerd scientist in a movie talk about an animal, it's probably what you hear. The binomial nomenclature. He's like, oh, don't touch the Vampirus baticus.
We should know that.
Yeah, we did talk about all right, but what's this guy's name?
This one's called... because he's actually a Sith Lord. His name is Dositicus gigas.
That does sound...
Sith Lordy?
Sith Lordy.
Like Darth Dositicus?
Yeah.
Sure. It's also... That's his binomial nomenclature. It's also known as the jumbo squid.
Because it is small?
No, because it's jumbo.
Because it's big. Gigas, right? That means big.
Yeah, sure. I guess Dositicus... I mean, gigas or gigas is its species name. Mm-hmm. So...
because it's like... You go. Okay, I'll let you go through the...
Okay.
The list.
So it's kingdom Animalia, like most of the things we'll be talking about here. Phylum Mollusca. So
mollusks, that's the same as snails.
Right. It's pretty much they're the same exact thing.
Yeah.
A cephalopod and a snail.
That means they got no spines. Spineless folk.
Right. So the class is Cephalopoda. The order is Teotheta. Teotheta.
Yeah.
Something like that. The family is a really long word that I've been practicing, and let's see if I can get it. Omostrophidae.
That looks pretty good.
Yeah, that looks like it makes sense. There's 2 N's. And the genus is Dositicus, and the species is gigas.
Mm-hmm.
So
basically, the binomial nomenclature is the most specific to bottom 2.
Right.
So it's basically the what is it?
It's the genus and
the species. So it's like down to the nitty gritty. This is what this thing is.
By the way, if you hear a dog bark, it's because
this is an animal podcast.
It's an
Get
animal
over
podcast
it.
And we have animals. So, what interesting things can you tell us about the animal's physical appearance? This Humboldt squid. I like calling it Dositicus gigas. So, Dositicus gigas is... No, I don't like it anymore. Too many S's. Humboldt squid's physical appearance.
It's larger than you might think.
Really?
It is. It's what, as long as a car, they kept saying and everything I saw, which was, it could be like, the mantle is 6 feet, and then with the tentacles, mantle is the part of the squid that doesn't have tentacles, right?
Right. It's like the solid shell part.
Yeah.
Or it's not like a shell, but
there's a shell on the inside.
Right.
There's a hard shell on the inside.
Is it made of bone or is it
I'm not sure.
cartilage?
I learned that dissecting a squid.
It's like a clear, hard substance. I have dissected.
It has to
squid
be clear
before.
because they're clear.
No, they're pretty opaque.
So like if you could see, I mean, you can see through the skin like in its basic state.
Right, but I couldn't hold a squid up between you and me and see you.
Translucent. Then.
Sure, yeah. It's not clear. It's not a window.
They've got. They look pretty gnarly because they've got their tentacles, as you think, and the mantle's about 40% of its body. Okay. So tentacles make up the rest. So
and if it has a 5-foot mantle, then
yeah,
and that's only that's not 40% of its length. That's 40% of its mass, right?
Yeah. So it's heavier.
So it has like organs and stuff.
Yeah. All the good stuff. But the tentacles have, your typical suction cups, as you might expect. But they also have, closer to the body, they seem to have like these barbs, these teeth. And then around every suction cup, they have teeth.
Like razor sharp teeth.
Yeah, so you don't want to get like even like touched by this boy.
So does it use suction or does it use the razor sharp teeth to grab
I imagine it's both, and that sucks for whatever you.
It literally sucks. Because like geckos don't have suction cups; they have those like tiny hooks that allow them to grab onto things. So this has both those tiny hooks, and
it has a suction cup like a regular squid, and also there's teeth on those suction cups.
Do not all squid have the?
Maybe they're very tiny, but I've like touched. Squid you can eat squids.
Yeah, I guess, and you don't have to eat the teeth.
Yeah.
But if you have, so I guess like having a Humboldt squid wrap its tentacle around your arm
is not going to be a good time.
Well, that's going to cut your skin open because it's razor sharp teeth.
Plus, because of the payload that's in the center. So there's, it wraps itself around your arm, and then it bites on you with like this. Beak that's kind of like a parrot's beak. It's
we've all seen the Pirates of the Caribbean, the Dead Man's Chest.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a parrot's beak, and it's slightly smaller than a tennis ball, unlike a full-grown one.
So it's like a mini Sarlacc.
Yeah. So sure.
From Star Wars.
But
it has that beak in the middle. It has a tongue, right? To
I'm
taste?
not sure. What would it need a tongue for?
Kissing.
But so that's basically what it looks like. Plus, it's got some color changing features we can talk about later.
Yeah, we'll save that for later because that's the coup de grace. Is that the right thing to say?
I don't know. Does that mean it's the interesting part about this squid?
It means mercy strike. It's like killing someone, taking them out of their misery. So it's not the coup de grace. It's the
I would imagine
creme de la creme.
The beak, yeah, there you go. The beak is the coup de grace.
Yeah, it's like, oh my gosh, all these razor sharp suckers everywhere. Please, with some giant like keratin beak, bite my head off. So these squid, they actually live in the Humboldt Current, which is what gives them their name.
Okay.
Their boring British name. Did I already point out that they're called Diablo Rojo?
No, you did not.
Goodness, that's like their coolest name. Diablo Rojo, which means the red devil in Spanish.
And it's called by local fishermen in, what's the name of the place that they live? Mostly.
Like Tierra del Fuego?
Dang it. But they're really popular among fishermen, and that's what they're called. They're called by those fishermen.
Well, I mean, this thing is edible. So imagine you're a fisherman and you catch this 7-foot-long, 100-pound squid. It's like, that's your catch for the day. You can go home. Hooray! But
plus, they catch way more than that because they're very numerous. So they'll catch.
Also, like a 7-foot-long Humboldt squid is like that's the upper level.
About 100 pounds, too.
Usually, so Wikipedia has a page of a guy who's holding one up that's like 50 pounds, and it looks to be maybe like 4 or 5 feet long.
If it's a short gentleman, because the mantle, the tentacles are touching the ground, and the mantle almost goes all the way up to his head.
So this thing is, I mean, if he
like 5'7" maybe,
and 52 pounds, so like 100-pound one. Imagine how big that would be, or dense. I guess it just has more organs. Maybe it's eaten something. That's heavy.
Well, it might be longer because They said it could be up to 7 feet.
That is crazy. That's terrifying. Also, part of my fear of the open ocean is giant squid.
Plus, they don't just like travel on their own. You know, they travel in huge shoals of doctor shoals, if you will.
Doctors. They travel in doctor shoals with like over 1,000 of these squid. 1,000 6-foot-long, 100-pound squid that are naturally aggressive too.
Yeah, aggressive.
These things attack whatever shiny thing that comes into their path,
and they'll pretty much eat anything.
Right. So if you look up like Humboldt Squid attacks, it's usually this big dramatized thing where, because there have been stories of these things ripping people apart and taking them off of their boats,
which could be fake and silly.
I think that's totally fake. I think having a Humboldt squid rip you off your boat, unless it's on your fishing pole and you hold on to your fishing pole, Smeagol style or Deagle style. I don't think they can do that. They can just jump out of the water and grab you.
Because they don't have their tentacles don't seem long enough to like reach out of the water.
Yeah,
they would have to jump out of the water. I don't know.
Humboldt squid have relatively short tentacles if you compare it to like the giant squid, which have really long tentacles. Mm-hmm. And we can talk about the giant squid, colossal squid, all that stuff later on, or in another episode. But so these things are aggressive. Mm-hmm. They only live between like 1 and 2 years, so they've been forced to adapt really quickly, and because of that, cephalopods in general, being very adaptable, it makes it so that their population is seeing a boom, because commercial fishing is just getting bigger and bigger, and the fish that would normally eat these cephalopods, like dolphins, sharks, and tuna,
and salmon.
Salmon eat them?
Yeah.
Are they babies?
They're babies, yeah.
Okay. And people love salmon. Did you know a tuna could be 15 feet long?
Yeah, tuna can be huge.
Oh my gosh.
You would not expect.
15 feet long, 1,500 pounds, and they live for up to 50 years.
That's a lot of cat food.
Man.
But they're saying that, like, because of us overfishing those species, they're not getting eaten as infants, so they're just having a population.
The squid, are like all over the place now, and
their range is expanding, and it ranges in animals where it lives. Basically.
Right. So it has this huge on a map. The range is huge, but also it can live at 2,300 feet below the surface, all the way up to the surface itself.
And it seems like they're very affected by weather patterns. I saw something that said like El Nino can affect it El Nino in a different way.
Is a huge weather phenomenon that changes the currents and things like that.
So El Nino, they said, would make them adapt. They would adapt to El Nino by getting smaller and living 6 months, having a 6-month lifespan rather than a 2-year lifespan. So
based on just
they get smaller and live faster. I don't understand how that helps, but they also go back out to the open ocean because I mean there's less predators there.
It's just a bigger area, easier to avoid things, and
there's more predators towards like reefs on the coast and. So when they're big, they're the predators. They come in, and then El Nino, they go out and become smaller and eat anything from krill when they're small. They'll eat krill and tiny fish,
crustaceans,
and then to like
other cephalopods. They'll eat each other.
Eat each other.
Which is one of the fears with this huge population boom is that we're either going to start eating them a whole lot more, or they're going to start eating each other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I'm not start eating each other. They're going to, their own species will be their major food source.
I mean, apparently it's pretty tasty. So let's get eating. Let's start fishing.
Well, I don't think calamari is Humboldt squid. I think it's
no. I saw something that said that Humboldt squid is tasty.
Well, I mean, yeah, but I don't think that when you get calamari, I don't think you're getting Humboldt squid.
No,
you're
but
getting
we
the
should.
Smaller versions.
Yeah, a lot more.
So we'll talk about the ink, and then after that we can talk about the really cool part, the chromatophores.
Yep.
Spoiler alert. Well, we talked about their ability to change color. Like most cephalopods, they can shoot ink, which I found out that ink is mostly made of melanin.
That's weird.
Yeah.
So they're shooting basically the same thing that makes your skin the color it is.
Right.
And gives you a sunburn when you go out in the sun. Or it gives you a tan when you go out in the sun.
Yeah, it doesn't give you a sunburn.
It is the tan.
It is the tan. Right, so it shoots out mostly melanin and like this mucus that they secrete. And depending on it's delicious. Depending on how much mucus they secrete, this is a really interesting thing. Some of them create these things called pseudomorphs, which they'll put more mucus into it so that it retains its shape, about the same shape as the squid itself, so that predators will attack that, thinking that it's still inside of the cloud of ink while it's gone. And it's probably changed its color by then. So, and it can spit out multiple pseudomorphs. And they've seen when they're small, they'll do that. And sea turtle babies will attack the pseudomorphs. That's really smart. It's like, I'm going to put a little bit more mucus into this ink cloud so that they're going to think that I'm still there. It's crazy smart. Which is interesting because cephalopods in general are pretty smart.
But squid are not.
Squid are... I saw information saying that the Humboldt squid was on par with the octopus.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
But an octopus is on par with a dog. So, in the terms of intelligence, dolphins are smarter than all of those.
Okay.
And...
There are more and more people coming out saying, like, octopuses are the most intelligent. And like,
no.
Because they are, like, self-aware in terms of they know how big they are. So they can look at a hole and know exactly how, like, they're not going to fit through it, or they will.
Well, but
I feel like a lot of things know that.
Like most mammals could probably do that. Walk by a hole and be like, I can't fit in there. So
well, I've seen a dog, like, try to get in a hole that's too small.
Well, it tries to get something out of a hole that's too small.
Okay, that's true.
But it's not like, I'm going to fit in there. It's like, we do that. It's like, my wallet fell down this drainage pipe. I'm going to try to get it.
That's true.
Even though I can't fit. So, do you want to talk about the chromatophores?
Sure. Okay. So, like lots of cephalopods and chameleons and different animals in the animal kingdom.
Mostly reptiles, amphibians, and then marine-dwelling fish and stuff. Marine-dwelling fish.
Yeah, I can't think of any mammals that do it.
No, mammals definitely don't do it.
They change their color, sometimes to match their surroundings or sometimes to, camouflage. Most use color change for camouflage.
Yeah.
But the Humboldt squid can also use it for communication.
Which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and so you're thinking, like, okay, they change color. You've seen a chameleon do this, maybe, if you live in Florida like we do.
You see chameleons? Like, in the wild?
Oh, no, the...
Iguanas.
Anole.
An anole?
That's what it's like.
A green, the anole. Yeah. I know what you're talking about.
I've heard people call them chameleons. That's probably not true.
They're definitely not chameleons.
But they change color. And so, like, it's on, like, a green path, or it'll be, if it's on a leaf, it'll be greenish. If it's on, like, mulch, it'll be brown. So, and I've seen them change to something, and then it over time they get darker. But
yeah, it takes some time.
Cephalopods, it's like instant. Especially these guys, they can like even do a strobing effect with their skin. So, like dark to light, like quickly, like a strobe light. And the way they do that is through chromatophores, which are like tiny little pigment sacs in the skin.
Mm-hmm.
So, and it's kind of like...
and these reflect light.
No.
Yeah.
Well, okay.
So, from what I understood of chromatophores...
reflect light like everything does?
No, bioluminescent doesn't reflect light.
I see what you're...
And so Humboldt squid have both chromatophores and photophores. And photophores are bioluminescent, meaning that when they're down there 2,300 feet below the surface, you can still see them.
They also have iridophores, which is change the iridescence of their skin.
Wow.
So it makes them shinier.
So they can make themselves shinier, they can make themselves different colors, or they can make themselves actually glow.
And what I saw was like, it's kind of like pixels on a screen. So like they've got tiny little chromatophore sacs that will expand so they got like a tiny little brown speck on them, right? Mm-hmm. And then it expands all over their body, all these little specks, so that they look all brown.
Right, but those like white or clear or gray specks that were previously making up their color, now they shrink.
Small.
So they're all still there. They have all of the colors in their skin, right? But then whatever color they want to change, they just expand that color, which is nuts.
And they're doing studies on like how they do this and like kind of what causes them to do this. I forgot who did it, but somebody did a study by snipping the part of the brain on one side of the body.
Sounds humane.
That sends signals to to expand the chromatophores, right? So one side of the body was acting normally, the other side was translucent.
Okay.
No chromatophores were expanded. But so then that was telling them, okay, I want to move my arm. If you snip the part of my brain that does that, I can't move my arm.
Right.
So they're saying, okay, they decide to do this. But after a while, with no signals from the brain, they started to fill up again and change again, the chromatophores.
Okay.
So that's telling them that it's kind of innate. Or
automatic.
Automatic. And based on surroundings. So they can choose to change it, and they'll do that for communication, mating, hunting, or for camouflage, which is just, I'm going to go hide and my skin's going to change to be the color of whatever's around me.
So, and they don't have to, it sounds like the hiding is not purposeful. Like whatever their surroundings are, they just turn that color.
Right.
Whether
it
they
could
want
be
to
an
or
instinct thing, just like a fear response, you know? And somebody described it like if you were blindfolded and you could do this, you could not see, you could be walked into a blue room not knowing it's blue, and your skin would turn blue. So like their skin somehow is able to just match without them even being aware.
They should just blindfold a squid and throw it into a blue room and see if it turns blue.
Yeah, so
it's probably, I would imagine it turned red because that's where the red devil comes from. The Diablo Rojo is because when you catch it, it's in full like I'm gonna kill you mode, and so it turns red.
So let's talk about what they use it for. So I saw one that was basically right down the middle. Half of them was brown, half of them was whitish. Mm-hmm. And that was the side facing a female was the brown. They call it pretty in the video I saw, but like the one that's attractive to the female. And then the white side is a warning to males. So basically, it's like kind of like a Two-Face thing where like you're smiling at a lady and frowning at a man. Like stay away.
It's one of those like yin and yang cookies with the chocolate and the vanilla.
The black and white cookie.
Okay, sure.
That's what they're called, black and white
it's
cookie.
a yin and yang cookie.
They're on Seinfeld. It's this thing. It's okay. And they also can use it to communicate while hunting. The strobing thing is like confuses prey.
Mm-hmm. So do they hunt? Are they solitary hunters or do they hunt in groups?
From what I saw, it's mostly like schools, frenzies.
Do they use this to, when you see fish that all turn at the exact same time somehow?
Yeah.
You think they use the pigment to do that?
I didn't see that. I didn't see anything that suggested that. But I did see something that said like that when they're swarming and they're about to go for something, they'll like light up in a certain way to let others know I'm attacking, and they think maybe it's to say don't get in my way, or you're gonna get bit, kind of thing.
Or it's dazzle the prey.
Yeah, that too. But like that's communicating
fish.
to other squid. So it's like, I'm going in.
Okay. Sure.
I don't know how they know that, but
it's like, I just saw brown, white, brown, so that means he's going in.
Yeah. I don't know how they know that.
Although
that's
they don't just turn white and
but...
brown. They turn red.
Red.
They turn blue. They can turn probably green.
Mm-hmm.
Or greenish blue.
And like as a camouflage feature, it doesn't seem as robust as an octopus, which they can change the texture of their skin.
That is crazy. We'll talk about octopuses later.
And the color and be different colors all throughout, and like
and
just
patterns,
just like a rock.
Man, it's crazy.
But they do seem to have like this instantaneous, quick control over it, which is interesting. And they also the iridescence thing that's helpful for open ocean stuff. So basically, you're out in the open ocean. There's no rocks around you to camouflage into.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically have to mimic the pattern of light hitting the water. Basically, so kind
of the ripples.
Things below you, yeah.
Look up and they see, instead of a shadow, they see, instead of a black shadow on a blue rippling background, they see a blue. They see it's blue. They say and rippling.
Blue rippling thing.
And
that's it.
Maybe a line, but that's not.
So I did see a video of one that it looked like it was underwater, and you know how like if you're in the pool, you've got that like the light being reflected and refracted by the surface of the water.
Yeah.
It looked like that was happening to like it was underwater and the sunlight was passing over it like that, but it wasn't. It was just its skin. That's what it looks like. That's a good way to describe it.
So, and it's kind of the same tactic that a great white shark doesn't use it on purpose, but it has a white underbelly. So that when you're looking up, you see it blends in with the sun, and then when you're looking down, it's gray, and so it's And same thing with like a penguin or a seal or something like that. They usually have the lighter underbellies for that purpose, and so that's crazy. So they reflect light, they also generate their own light through bioluminescence, and then they're also iridescent.
Yep.
So is that pretty much it? You got anything else?
That's the whole thing.
That's the Humboldt Squid.
There's lots. If you want to learn more, type it in on YouTube. There's loads.
They also have a camera lens kind of eye, just like we do.
Yeah.
So they have really complex eyes, unlike a bug.
So they're good. They can see well.
They can,
and I imagine they have big eyes for under.
Right, so
water.
they can take in a lot of light, but they can also focus on things where a lot of animals can't. Even though they have eyes on either side of their head, usually animals that have that, they can't focus on things. They have like a panoramic vision, but they can't do much focusing. But anyway, we can talk about that in some other episode. We're trying to make sure this stays at 30 minutes each episode.
And we just passed the 30-minute mark. So.
All right. So until next time, there's nothing certain in life except life, death, and taxonomy.
That's good conviction you said that with.
Good night, everyone.
Oh. Hello. You're still here? Well, this week's episode is over. Carlos already left. I'm just sitting here listening to the sounds of Pongo pygmaeus rubbing its legs together. Anyway, this week's episode is over, but if you're looking for more podcasts, why don't you head over to your local podcasting app, iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, whatever you got, and subscribe. Just type in Life, Death, and Taxonomy into the search bar for more interesting animal info. Besides, Pongo pygmaeus is a kind of orangutan. I was just kidding earlier. If you thought it was a cricket, you definitely need to be listening to more LDT. Wait, did you hear that? Oh, okay, so that is an orangutan. I'm out of here. See you in the next video.